It's not really sausages that I've forgotten what we talked about.
Please, sir, can I have some more? It's episode 44. Yeah! I did it! Yeah!
That was great.
Good
that
job.
might be the best one you've ever done.
Yep.
I definitely wasn't thinking about that for 2 days straight, thinking, oh, I can make a comeback with the bingo calls for one night only.
Congratulations.
I'm sad. Thanks, I'm sad. I know, thank you. Welcome to episode 44. My name is Dan, joined by Penny.
Hello.
And mistake-free Andy.
Hello.
How are we all?
Good.
Yeah, fine. Yourself? How are you?
I'm brilliant. I'm fantastic.
He's
No,
not.
I
He's
feel
sad
terrible.
because he cried at video games today.
That's true, he cried at 2 video games this week. He's such a fucking loser.
There is a thing called possibly an off-the-podcast conversation that may be reserved just for off-the-podcast, but I don't mind you saying, yeah, 'cause
Never.
video games are great. They're better than fucking movies, I'll tell you that much. Hey, fucking controversial. Woo.
Now, children.
Anyway. So, is it Oscar season yet?
The Oscars have happened.
Oh, the Oscars were great, weren't they? Oh,
You
it's
are about 2 weeks behind.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but we haven't talked about it. Weren't they great? I'm so glad that Mank didn't win that many awards. Or maybe they did. I don't know. But
Who knew
hopefully
Timothy Oliphant was going to win all the Oscars? Yeah.
I know, yeah. For absolutely. Has he actually got an Oscar?
No, of course he fucking hasn't.
Hey.
I mean, because he's been around for a while. He's as old as
I don't
Penn.
think-
So, you know, just wanted to.
He's way older than me.
He's older.
Yeah.
He's in his 50s. Penn's only
Yes.
in her 40s.
Not yet.
Yes. Big of an age gap for her Timothy Oliphant fantasy, but either way.
No, it's fine.
Okay, fine. All right. Andy,
Yeah,
let's talk about some films, will we?
sure.
What did you watch?
You know how sometimes I like to hear what the fans are suggesting we watch, and I get a recommendation from one of our pals?
That
No, I've
doesn't-
never heard of it. Never heard
That
of
doesn't
this. But,
usually go.
doesn't ring a bell.
I mean, it goes well content-wise, but mental health-wise for the rest of us doesn't usually go too well.
Shall we just skip Andy's bit? I think that's fair. Yeah?
If I told you this recommendation didn't come from Brad or Kat, would you be more forgiving?
A little, yeah.
I don't know how much of your friends or people close to you are crazy enough to suggest stuff to us to make sure our mental health is okay. I don't know, but it depends how many friends you have like that.
If it
So-
helps, in the last 2 weeks, 4 different people have recommended me the same stupid film, which I won't tell you about because I'm going to watch it. So enjoy
Oh, okay.
This came from friend of the podcast, Ed.
that. Hey, Ed.
You know, handsome Ed. We love him.
I'm going to hate you in a minute, Ed.
He recommended a film to me, and let me give you the little selling point. This is why I decided to watch it. He said, this film is a wild ride. He takes a guy out by lifting up a fridge, using it as a bullet shield, then throws said fridge at the gunman at one point, and I thought, fucking hello, this is a bit of me.
Okay.
So I watched 1994's One Man Army.
Hey.
Oh, what's
I've
that noise about?
heard of this. Maybe if you talk about it more, I'll probably...
Who's in it, please?
Jeremy Trimble?
Who's that,
Or
please?
Tremblay? I don't know how he pronounces it.
Tremblay.
Let's call him Tremblay because it sounds fancier. That's pretty much the only person that is of any note.
It definitely looks like Trimble, doesn't it? Jerry Trimble.
It does look like Trimble, but I don't know.
Ooh, 4.4 out of 10 on IMDb. So that bodes well.
That can only be a positive thing. So, this film is about a kickboxing champion. He runs a dojo in LA, and then he gets a call from someone.
Mr.
He
Miyagi.
picks up and says, Natalie Pierce. You ever done that when you pick up a phone? Like,
No.
say someone's name back
I
to
might
them?
start, though.
I hate people who would do that instantly.
I mean,
Yeah.
nobody calls me because I don't want them to, but imagine that. They're like, Andrew Joyce.
Yeah. So he picks up the phone. He's then like, oh no, oh okay, oh I'll be right there, and he drives off to what is his hometown. And
The hometown.
I should probably add, this is like a low budget action film that I found on YouTube because it wasn't anywhere else. So think sort of Neil Breen-esque.
Are you trying to make it sound better?
Yeah.
No,
Oh?
no, this makes it sound better. Neil Breen makes it sound better.
To Dan.
No, the fact that you are going down the route of watching a film that is Neil Breen-esque, I quote Mr. Andy Joyce.
He didn't do it on purpose, though, did he?
No, I ran out of time. I'd started it, looked at my watch and went, fuck, I can only
He's such
watch
a busy
this.
man, he ran out of time. Yeah,
Legitimately,
we
yeah.
get it. Yeah.
Anyway, so he goes back to his hometown. It turns out this guy's called Jerry.
Jerry Trimble.
Which
Jerry Maguire.
he's called Jerry Pelt. And I don't know why that's funny.
Jerry Pelt.
As a surname, yeah.
As like a bear pelt.
As in a bear pelt.
His name's Jerry Trimble.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, he can't remember anyone else's name, so he has to be Jerry in the movie. So why don't we just keep it as Trimble? Why do we have to change his last name?
If they call him, Dave Pelt,
He won't answer
he'll be like,
to
who
it.
the fuck is Dave?
Yeah.
Dave? No.
Pelty.
He's got to be Jerry. So he's driving back. He's got this crappy little VW Beetle, and then a truck drives him off the road.
Rude.
A pickup truck. And he's not a happy boy. He goes to a petrol station and he sees the people who drove him off the road, and he is pissed, so beats the shit out of them. And this is the sort of point where you see he is like the all-American ass-kicking badass who will just take
Petrol
names.
station beating up man. Yes.
Yeah, he'll beat up anyone at a petrol station. So he goes to a cemetery where he meets Natalie at the graveside, and he's talking about someone, and he's like, even in death, I keep disappointing him because he was late for the funeral.
Oh.
I thought she was a ghost.
Who are you, me?
No, because even in death, I thought she was a ghost. Sorry, go on.
Kung Fu Ghost.
So it turns out it was his grandpa, and I don't really know what the relationship between Natalie and the grandpa is, but it's weird. Like, she's living in his house. I think she's his lawyer.
Huh?
I don't know why he needs a lawyer. I mean, he's dead, so he doesn't need anything now, but
Wait,
he had a lawyer?
so she's still living in his house when he dies?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Oh, he's buried, and she's still living in his house, yeah.
Was she living in his house with him? Do we know that?
I don't know.
Maybe she was like
Doesn't go into the
the
backstory.
executor of his will and he gave her the house, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Possibly. I should say, we're still in the first 5 minutes of this film, so let's get moving. It turns out it's actually Jerry's house, and he had moved away for some reason, and he shouts at a dog called Hank to get his slippers, so Hank goes and gets his slippers,
Well, good boy.
as if dogs will just do that.
What a scene.
I mean, if you train him to, maybe.
Yeah, that can happen, Andy. You do know there are trained dogs available. They also, amazingly, they can sniff out drugs, if you didn't know.
And bombs.
And cancer.
And bombs.
And food.
And COVID. And
Like
COVID.
the food beagles at the
apparently.
airport in America.
Yeah.
There's food beagles?
Yeah, they have beagles come around and they sniff everybody.
What do you
for
put on
food.
them? Cream cheese and salmon, or cheeky little bagel joke there? Cracking.
That is... What? That is the worst fucking joke.
Yep.
Anyway, so he's having dinner with Natalie, and Natalie's like, gets out a dictaphone and starts questioning him, and she's like, for the testimony of the court, Jerry, in regards to your romantic relationships, are you currently single? And he's like, yes I am. And what about you?
What's that got to do with anything?
I don't know. It's just like they're trying to fucking crowbar it in for no reason.
Don't forget, she's a lawyer.
She's a lawyer, so don't forget that she has a dictaphone at all times. So he leaves the house. Hank is barking outside. He goes to investigate, and it's his old mate Eddie, who has lived there his whole life and is a bit of a prick. And Natalie is like, right, I'm off. Be careful, Jerry. And Jerry says, all right, see you later. Totally dismisses her. They piss off down the boozer. And this bar is like nothing I've ever seen. You walk through the door, and there's fully naked women everywhere.
Oh.
Just like on the laps of men, and they go through like another doorway.
In case you didn't know what it was. It's called a strip club.
There's like a bare knuckle boxing area. It's not a strip club, it's a bar called La Hacienda,
The house?
of all things.
No, wait.
Yeah.
Bar.
Hacienda's-
Where is
No.
this set? Because you're making it sound like it's set in England, but I can tell it's not.
It's set in America. It's
Yes.
set, I'm going to say, Texas-ish.
Texas, okay.
Lots of Spanish.
Yeah, they've got loads of bars with naked people in.
Yeah, a lot of Spanish and Mexican people. We'll come back to that later on. So they're in this bare knuckle boxing area, and the main guy, who I guess is the ref, the head judge, what's he called? The umpire? No, what's the ref?
The ref.
The ref of the fight.
I love that you said ref, forgot the word ref, and then had to remember it again.
No, it's bad, isn't it? So they see him and say to everyone, that they've got a special guest of honour, and that it's Jerry. And Jerry has to go in and fight two dudes for no reason, just because he's prideful.
It's just an unassuming name, isn't it? Jerry.
Yeah. I mean, he's got a fucking mullet, so...
Hey, the Jerrys are going to be on you. Don't say anything bad about people's names, because the Jerrys will be on us. They'll fucking get really mad that, oh, you don't like Jerry's names now, do you?
Just said it was unassuming.
Okay.
So Jerry beats them both, and as they're walking out, one of them throws a table at him. So they continue fighting, and he kicks the shit out of everyone, and then they walk out, and... I have never seen a man so sweaty in my life, considering he's done maybe 4 minutes of fighting.
I feel like I'd be quite sweaty if I did 4 minutes of fighting, though.
Yes,
I mean, after 4 minutes of walking, I'm pretty sweaty, but...
Yeah, haven't really walked anywhere for a year, so...
Only to the fridge.
I'm back.
So he goes back home. Natalie makes aspersions that the town is corrupt, and there's a dude called... Sharperson, I can't remember what his name is. Stanley Sharperson. I made that up.
Okay, now I'm questioning these names.
Earlier. Sydney Sharperson.
Sydney Sharperson.
Sydney Sharperson. What a name.
Sydney Sharperson is like some mafia don who runs the town. And as she's telling him, the sheriff knocks on the door. And Sheriff Bose doesn't like him. And he essentially says, "Don't be a prick. We would love to have you in our jail, so fucking behave yourself." And, you know, I'm obviously paraphrasing here because I'm cutting for time.
I was going to say that's...
If that was the script, that would be better.
Mixed messages.
Yeah.
We'd love you in our jail, don't be a prick.
Well, I guess they're saying, don't fuck around.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll arrest you.
Yeah.
So Jerry takes Hank the dog out for a midnight walk, and he sees people being trafficked. It's kind of unexplained why or how, but...
Yeah, a lot of this sounds like... A lot of it is unexplained. Is that why I'm getting the catch of this? It's nothing is really explained. Okay.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I watched this less than 3 hours ago, and I've forgotten most of the plot.
Okay.
But Jerry reckons that he's found like some big trafficking ring, and he thinks his grandpa also worked it out, because by like where the area where the slaves are being kept, or the people are being kept, he finds his grandpa's hearing aid, so assumes it's like he must have worked it out.
He must have been here investigating it.
I don't know.
How long
did he
has
lick
been
the
dead?
earwax and go, grandpa?
How long has it been there?
I don't know. A couple of weeks.
It smells like grandpa.
I think he's been dead maybe a week.
Right. But also, on top of that, just because his hearing aid is there, it could also mean he was part of this trafficking as well.
Exactly. He's secretly the big don. That's what it should be.
Could
but no,
also just be
Jerry's like,
he went for a walk
and he lost
Jerry did, and he lost his hearing aid.
Yeah.
Poor man's been looking at it for a week until he died, obviously. But
so he tells Natalie about it, and she's like, well, we should get a subpoena and we can go and have a look at the coroner's report. And Jerry's like, nah, fuck that, I'll do it myself. So he goes to the coroner's office, sends in Hank the dog as a distraction, then sneaks in, but gets caught. So instead of like saying, oh, I'm really sorry, whatever, he just kicks the shit out of everyone.
okay.
He's supposed to be the fucking hero, and he's gone into a coroner's office, he's broken in, and he's kicked the crap out of 12 different people.
Who are just doing their jobs.
Yeah. There's one officer who manages to pull a gun on him, and they arrest him. They put Jerry in jail, and you see Hank run off back to the house.
Smart.
With Natalie in, and she's having a shower for maybe 90 seconds.
Yeah, because film, right?
Remember how successful Leak Watch is. I'm going to start a new one. Unnecessary Tit Watch.
Oh, we've had a few of those. I'm not sure they're all unnecessary tits.
Yeah, I mean, how unnecessary are we talking the tits are, is it?
So this is quite unnecessary.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Tell me why.
As Hank runs off back to the house, she's in the shower. And then you see a shot of Hank scratching at the door. And you see her walking to the door in a dressing gown or like pajamas or whatever, and just opens the door. So there are 2 minutes of her in the shower where you saw her showering.
Yes. You sound like me trying to explain sex, but go on.
Her vagine.
Her body.
But you just see the upper half. Essentially, you just see a lot of tits, but for no reason. And I'm not against that.
What do you mean for no reason? They're part of a body.
It's not essential to the story.
Yeah,
She didn't need to be having a shower.
You don't need to have her in the shower, is what I'm getting at.
You don't need to have the tits talking or something. Is that what you're trying to, like, have a purpose in the story?
No, just
they don't
like,
need to
she's
be.
not covered in blood, so she doesn't need to get in the shower. I see where you're going with it, kind of.
Yeah, there's no need for her to be in the shower at all. You could just have her opening the door. You could cut 2 minutes out of this 90-minute runtime and save fucking everyone. Anyway, so the next day she gets Jerry out of jail and they spend a lovely night next to the fire where they start doing a fuck. There's more unnecessary tits, although I guess they're a bit more necessary
now.
What isn't necessary is the camera panning to follow them when she moves.
This is such a terrible trend now. You think I don't think unnecessary tits should be a thing.
Dan's defending tits in movies, everyone.
All right, catchphrase girl. Shush. It sounds like this film is from the outset, very macho-y kind of.
Well, I think that's why they've included it. But I mean, that's happens in some of these films.
And guns and kung fu fighting.
I get it. I really do get it. But you don't need to pan the camera to follow her tits when she's moving out of frame. Do you know what I mean? When it takes the main character out of frame entirely just so you can follow a pair of tits in the middle of the screen.
Andy likes narrative tits. That's what he's trying to say.
The tits have to mean something.
They have to. What do they mean? Is it a metaphor or something?
Anyway, moving on from that shit. Jerry decides that he wants to become sheriff and oust Sheriff Bose. And as a celebration, him and Natalie go for a picnic by a lake. She then strips again to get into the lake to go swimming. Again, flashing her tits.
This is getting a lot of nakedness. This
is maybe the fourth time you've seen them in probably 4 minutes, but everyone has been a different scene.
Okay, now that seems excessive now.
Yeah.
Okay, good,
when that's the case, yes. Okay, I get it now.
Whilst they're swimming around, 2 guys show up on a off-road motorbike and shoot at them.
Why? Just because they're swimming in the lake?
I think they just want Jerry dead.
Why?
What?
Except they miss Jerry. They hit Natalie.
Unless they're coroners, they have no reason to want him dead.
Well, the town is corrupt. Jerry's trying to save it, is what they're getting at.
Okay.
Right.
So they miss. They hit Natalie
in the tit.
And Hank the dog seems to have an amazing skill of being at the right place in the right time and taking out someone who's holding a gun just as they're about to shoot.
So he can bring slippers and take out a man with a gun. What a fucking dog. What a dog. What a good boy.
He's a good boy. Brody wouldn't do shit for me.
Oh, but I mean, Brody can barely move most days. The thing that makes me think of like Neil Breen and Birdemic with this film is the score and the soundtrack, because it's all like tense, almost horror scores that are just slightly too loud
and too long.
Yeah. But then they also just make weird choices. So they're on the campaign trail to sell Jerry as the new sheriff, and they've got some fucking comedy circus music in the background. And it's like, what are you doing? I'm not saying you should have tense music, but just something a little bit subtler. We're not at a fucking circus.
That does sound really odd.
Yeah. So as he's putting up these posters, he goes into a pool hall. Jesus. A pool hall.
A pool hall. Sir.
Pool hall.
I cannot say that. And then sees one of the guys who shot at Natalie, so he gets in a fight, obviously.
Is she alive?
This is a guy who's up for election.
What happened to Natalie?
She's alive. Oh, she's alive. Yeah, of course she is.
Does he left her at the lake? Where is she?
Nah, they go to hospital and she's like, oh, and he's like, yeah, I'll come, Sheriff, whatever. And then they start the campaign trail. So he beats up all these dudes. There's the one guy left who pulls a gun on him. This time, Hank isn't there to save him because he's already taken the gun out of some other prick's hand.
Oh.
And he can only do it once, apparently.
Yeah.
So as he's about to get shot, Bose turns up and shoots him, killing the other guy.
Okay.
And Jerry's like, I see. You're trying to hide your tracks, are you?
Double bluff.
That's the guy that shot Natalie. And now I can't push him for evidence and stuff. And he's like, just doing my job.
Mm.
Suspicious.
The next night, he goes out for dinner with Natalie, and was he called Sharperman?
Sharperson.
Yeah.
Stanley.
Sydney Sharperson.
Sydney Sharp.
I haven't even
Sydney
watched this movie.
Sharperson.
Sharperson.
Sydney Sharperson. It's so shit. I'm so fed up with this film already. Sydney Sharperson turns up and he's like, do you want to be on the same side? Do you want some cash? I want to keep running this place. Would you agree? And Jerry's like, nah, not really.
So he wants to give him money to stop him becoming the sheriff.
He's trying to bribe him so that he can keep running this town in a corrupt manner.
Okay.
Luckily, being the excellent lawyer that she is, Natalie always has her dictaphone and records the whole thing.
Oh.
So the next day they go to a radio show and play the recording, and everyone's like, interesting. We didn't know this.
Yeah, they're all in on it.
Even though everyone there is corrupt.
Yeah. Because you can't take it to the police because I assume they're corrupt too.
Exactly.
FBI?
FBI.
Yeah, they don't give a shit about Sydney
They
Sharperson.
don't care. Sydney Sharpson's too big dog for the FBI, you know what I mean?
Well, that sounds like it.
So the next day, or later that day, I guess, there's no real time frame. Jerry goes and sees his mate Eddie again and says, I'm the sheriff. Do you want to be deputy? Gives him a badge.
Wait, when did he become the sheriff?
I think because everyone is now like
Sydney's bad.
aware that Sydney is paid off Bose to be his sheriff. Everyone has voted for
So
Jerry.
like, he's a bad guy, so we'll just give it to the guy that caught him.
Yeah, we'll give it to the guy who turned up and is just kicking the shit out of people for fun.
We won't hold an election or...
No.
Okay.
So Jerry and Eddie go to the hacienda. There's more tits. I'm fairly certain it's exactly the same shot as before when we see him going there
That's
earlier.
a very Neil Breen thing, but yes, that's good Neil
Yeah.
Breen points.
Not even new tits.
No, they're the same tits. They're definitely the same women.
Mm.
I could tell by the birthmark I checked. Don't worry.
Good. Did you zoom in?
And
He didn't deny it.
I didn't zoom in, no. He shuts down the fighting ring and everyone is pissed off about it. He then goes to this cave where two blokes stroll in and are like, oh, we've got to get the stock out of the cave and get them over the border. Except Jerry has cleared them out already, sent them over the border, sent them home. And then there's a big shootout between Jerry's cops and the gang of villains. And it's kind of excessive. Like, there's people hiding on rocks and then jumping out of trees and stuff. And for some reason, there's like automatic weapons. And I'm like, what is this bullshit?
Okay.
The villains try and get away. So Jerry jumps onto one of their cars. He jumps through it because it's like a buggy sort of thing. He jumps through it, or an open Jeep, I should say.
I was
It's an
going to say
open
they're
Jeep.
driving golf buggies.
It's an open Jeep. He jumps into the car, kicks them all in close proximity, and then just gets out and walks off because he's beating them all up.
Right.
And then they go back to the cave and they blow it up with dynamite.
Why did they have dynamite?
I don't know why.
And what did the cave do? There's nothing in the cave, is there? They took it all.
There's nothing in the cave anymore, but they blow it up. I don't know why.
So you
They could have
can't-
left that. They could have fucking started a tour in there, but no.
I've just found out that the dog that played Hank, his real name was Yup.
Ah, so it was. Yeah, I saw Yup in the credits.
I love that he's in the credits.
Jerry goes to the hospital to find one of the gang members that he beat up. He's still alive. And he escapes because he's escorted out by other gang members. There's another fight. Jerry wins. Same old shit. They go back to La Hacienda. And now it's just a legit bar. There's no tits. There's no fighting. Instead, it's a bingo hall. There's people playing bingo in there. And they're like, the sheriff.
Why does it have to be a theme? Why can't it just be a normal bar? It has to have a theme
don't
to it at every fucking
don't
time.
know.
Maybe it was just like Tit Tuesday and Bingo Thursday.
Tit Tuesday?
Yeah, maybe.
Tuesday.
Bingo Fridays?
Yeah, maybe he just went in on different days.
Yeah, okay. I could believe that.
So they're like,
Bingo Wing
We've got
Wednesday.
a-
Sorry.
we've got a guest of honour. It's the sheriff. He's come to help support Bingo Tuesday or whatever.
Bingo
it is.
Wing Wednesday.
Bingo Wing Wednesday, sure. There were no wings, it was just bingos.
Bingo Wings.
Oh, I get it. Bingo Wing. Because
Yeah,
I'm
thank
with
you.
you. I'm with you.
Wasted on you people.
It's a deep cut. Very deep cut. So Eddie goes home by himself.
Uh-oh.
He is looking for his wife. He's not there.
Uh-oh.
So what he starts doing instead is snorting coke.
Oh.
His wife then comes home and he's obviously behaving a bit erratic and he's like, where have you been? You've been sleeping with other men, you bitch. And he beats her up.
Is he a gangster from the 1940s?
I don't know.
Sleeping around, you bitch.
See now.
He beats her up.
Oh.
So...
Penny went quiet.
I was like, oh.
Oh, okay.
It turns out that Eddie has really been working for Bose, and he goes to see Bose to get supply up, and they just both end up, doing coke together. Bose says to Eddie, kill Jerry and everything will be fine. However, Jerry has worked out that Eddie's working for Bose
Of course
because he's
he
a
has.
smart boy,
Yep.
apparently. So Jerry and Eddie's wife, whose name I can't remember, it was something like pilau or
What, like rice?
pita or
Like
yeah,
the
something
rice.
like that. I'm gonna have to be really careful here, I think.
It is,
So
it is
Eddie's
spelled
wife-
pillar, Pilar. So it could be pilar, pillar,
Let's go for that.
pilar.
Jerry and his wife and Eddie's wife go back to the house, and Eddie's there with a big gun, shoots his wife immediately, doesn't really explain why, and then he knocks Jerry out with the butt of the gun and sets the house on fire
Excessive.
and just casually walks off like it's not his problem anymore. Then Hank the dog sees that the house is on fire, jumps in through the window and drags Jerry
He's the
out.
best part of this film.
The real hero of this film is 100% Hank.
I really wish you said he jumped in the fire and he brought out a pair of slippers. That would have been fucking fantastic.
I mean, it would have been better, wouldn't it?
yeah. Unfortunately.
So meanwhile, Eddie assumes that Jerry is dead in the wreckage of the fire, so he appoints himself the new sheriff
Always check.
and then gives Bose the role of deputy.
Hang on. So he just goes, well, the sheriff's dead, so I'm the sheriff now.
Well, he was the deputy beforehand.
Oh,
So
okay,
he's like,
yeah.
we must be dead.
Fair.
I will take control. This is my new deputy. Then they release all the criminals that they arrested earlier, and Sidney Sharperson is like, Jerry is not dead. We've checked the wreckage. There's only one corpse, and it's not him. Find him, kill him, and then he slaps Bose after telling him that he can't shoot properly. So Bose shoots him in the back, and Sharperson is now deceased. There's a load of fighting here, and I mean, it's all set at night. Jerry's wearing black. You can barely see anything other than a white mullet floating around. It's kind of pointless. So there's I guess there's just movement and people collapsing and falling. I assume it's Jerry. It could be a ghost.
Could be the dog.
But there's still more shooting. It's the classic hide behind a log, shoot. Oh no, someone's shooting back. Better hide behind the log.
This sounds
again.
like a mixture of a very 70s set in the modern day but western flick.
I mean, it is a bit like... Do you know what this made me think of? It made me think of the Chuck Norris series,
Yeah.
Walker, Texas Ranger, where he just
Yeah.
goes around kicking the shit out of people and then occasionally shooting them. It's exactly like that.
Did Ed like
but-
this? Or he was just like, this is dumb, Andy should watch it.
We'll get back to that.
Okay. Ed's favourite film.
Anyway, so Jerry crushes Bose under a car, and then Eddie is like, "Well, I'm gonna kill Natalie."
For her unnecessary tits.
No one's happy in this film.
Well, I've written, I'ma kill this breast bitch Natalie, and then in brackets, I've embellished this here, but it made me laugh as I was reading it.
Nothing better than laughing at your own jokes.
He then tells Jerry that he killed his grandpa, and Jerry's like, "Oh, let's do this without guns and let's have a fist fight." So they do, and then Eddie somehow stumbles into a chain that gets wrapped around his neck, and Jerry just chokes him to death with the chain. And then the credits roll.
What?
They walk away from
Sorry.
the scene with the credits roll.
Wait.
Whoa. He stumbles into
Into
a
a
chain that gets wrapped around his neck. How does that happen?
I imagine it.
Well, this is
Or-
after Eddie has tried to use a buzzsaw on Jerry and failed. So Jerry kicks him, and then he stumbles into a hanging chain.
Oh, yeah. those
Conveniently
things that-
placed.
They're in I think they're in a logging yard or something.
Oh,
Or a
yeah, because
quarry
there's
or
loads
something.
of hanging chains to wrap your necks around in logging.
Yeah.
Yeah, plenty of them
Yeah.
there. Fucking hell.
So that's what happens. He essentially gets choked to death, and then him and Jerry and Natalie just walk away casually, and that's it.
That's fucking bullshit.
Wow.
I'm not even calling it a
that's-
hatchet ending.
It was not far off a hatchet ending. My last comments say, "What? This is bullshit." So, pretty similar to Hatchet. But the whole of this film, I was waiting for someone to get beaten up with a fridge, and it never happens because he gave me the wrong fucking film. So thanks,
Wait,
Ed.
what? He gave you the
Oh,
wrong film.
What? This wasn't the right film.
No, I asked him afterwards. I was like,
Where's
are you
the
sure you're
fridge?
thinking of the right one? He was like, well, it was 20 years ago. I might have forgotten.
Does he know what film he meant? He doesn't know what film he meant then.
Oh,
No,
Ed, you've
doesn't.
gone back in my good books with that. That's a
He's
brilliant
just sold me
prank.
this absolute sucker.
So if
I
anyone
can't
knows
tell-
what film Ed means, where somebody fights someone with a fridge and throws it at them,
Indiana
please
Jones,
let us know.
the last one.
Yeah, I can't tell if I'm just naive enough to listen to our friends and be like, oh, they give me a recommendation. It's probably worth
all
watching.
Andy hears is when anyone talks to me. He doesn't actually listen.
Or whether I just am a sucker for punishment because this was not that good.
See, my
It's
friends,
very fucking 90s.
my friends
but not
all
in a good way.
recommended a very on-brand film, and I don't know what that says about me. So.
I don't have any friends.
I will say, this reminded me of Walking Tall,
Nope.
the
Right.
film with The Rock.
Yeah.
It's like that, but not as good. Although it's also probably 10, 15 years
Behind.
earlier than the Rock one. But if you want to watch that sort of film, or if you want a film that's like that, go check out Walking Tall. There you go. That's my recommendation.
Can't
Or
believe
watch
Ed
my
just
mistakenly watched film.
told you the wrong film. Doesn't know what he meant.
Hey, what do you say we go in town and suck down a few beers, huh?
It looks, smells like you sucked down a few already. What if I said I didn't drink anymore?
I'd say you're crazy. Because we got places to go, people to see, women to chase, and bottles to empty.
Why don't you men go and be boys? It's time I left anyway. Be careful, Jerry.
All right, see you later.
Pen, you're up.
So at the time of recording, I recently had a birthday. So apparently,
Happy
No.
birthday. No, okay. No.
42 now?
36.
Oh.
Behave, 56.
Anyway, so apparently my subconscious, Andy will love this then, subconsciously I was like, nostalgia, because I'm old. So I watched 2 documentaries. I watched 2020's The Last Blockbuster, about the last ever.
Oh, that is the one I wanted to watch, yeah.
Yeah, I assume it's coming out on Netflix at some point. I didn't watch it on Netflix. About the last ever blockbuster on the entire planet.
Isn't it an Airbnb now?
Nope. It's a working,
It's still going.
fully functioning blockbuster in Bend.
What?
Yeah, in Bend, Oregon. So there were 4 left and 3 of them were in Alaska, which weirdly makes a lot of sense.
I'm in Alaska.
Like that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, it does.
Oh,
Yeah.
no wonder Blockbuster went downhill for you.
Yeah.
That's where
So,
the head office is.
so it mostly focuses on Sandy Harding, who is the manager of the Blockbuster in Bend in Oregon. And it has a lot of talking heads. So some of the celebrities that are in it, Doug Benson, Kevin Smith, Ron Funches, Brian Posehn, Jamie Kennedy. Oof, bless Jamie Kennedy. He's not doing so well. Paul Scheer and Sam Levine. And it kind of...
Who's Jamie Kennedy?
From Scream. I've been very drunk with him. He's having a lovely time. Yeah, so they talk about a bit. Apparently that in its height at in 2004 there were 9,000 Blockbusters stores. And at one point they estimated that one store was being opened every 17 minutes,
What? That's insane.
which is fucking crazy. We had 2.
That's mad.
One of them is still there but obviously empty, and the other one's something else.
There's one where we live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it starts off, they talk to a guy who ran a mum and pop video store that then later on got taken over by Blockbuster. They talk to the head of Blockbuster, I believe, and they kind of go...
Slimy corporate bastards.
Yeah, and they talk about the history, like they go through all the history of it. And that was what it was with the mum and pop. They basically, I think there was like 3 or 4 Blockbusters and this guy's shop left and they were like, well, you either change it to Blockbusters or we're going to open another one. And so they're like, okay, we'll just... Because there was corporate Blockbusters and then franchise Blockbusters.
Yeah.
So
I remember the times when, back in my day, in the 90s, when people were annoyed with Blockbuster because they were fearful that people weren't going to own anything. Everything was just going to be rented out because it was
They were
cheaper. And we did end up renting things, but now we don't even own the physical fucking disc. It's just
Yep.
online now. So
yeah.
go.
Apart from the nostalgia, and like Kevin Smith talks about working in a video store, I think maybe Brian Posehn talked about he worked in a record store. Paul Scheer worked in a Blockbusters. So there is that whole nostalgia element, but also with the history of Blockbuster, how it got so massive and how it all kind of started to go wrong with, because they actually asked
Love
the talking
Film, wasn't it?
Well, they asked all the talking head people, like, what do you think it was? And they're like, oh, it was Netflix, wasn't it? And they're like, Netflix. And they were like, actually, no, it wasn't. It was a lot of terrible decisions by the people that were in charge. I also found out
they had their own Netflix, essentially, Blockbuster. They were about to.
Well, they had the opportunity.
Love Film in UK wise, we had Love Film, which was going to be bought out by Blockbuster.
Well,
if I
they
remember.
don't mention Love Film, I guess, because it's an American documentary. But they actually were. Yeah. They did have the opportunity to buy Netflix, and they didn't.
Yeah.
And then they. Go on.
So I used to work in a similar place to Blockbusters. Don't know if I've mentioned it many times.
Yes, yeah.
But we got caught out by production companies putting their prices up, trying to sell us stock.
Yeah.
Because physical stock was getting more expensive to make. It was costing us more to buy, and that's what put us out of business.
Because how it came about was back in the day, to buy a VHS, it was like $90. So then someone was like, well, I don't want to pay $90 to watch Terminator, but we could buy it and rent it out to people, and there was no law against it, and it actually went to court because like the studios were like, you can't do that, and there was actually no law saying they couldn't. So that's how video stores became a thing. I don't know anyone outside of Essex that ever had this, but we had the video man, and a man used to come around with almost like not a book, almost like a bookshelf. He used to knock on the door and he'd have like a bookshelf that he'd like, which was full of VHSs, and you'd rent one and then he'd come back round next week. Yeah.
Well, I did have it, but at the same time, I was living in Essex.
Yeah, see, I don't know anyone outside of
Essex. The same thing
Essex.
happens.
It sounds like the sort of guy who just opened his trench coat and he's got a load of watches for sale.
Maybe that's why it was only in Essex. But yeah, we had the video.
Do you want Breaking Point? The Godfather.
It sounds like a geezery thing to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and Sandy's been working at that Blockbuster for 15 years, and her family have worked there, and it's all about like they're pretty busy. Like they're busy enough to, you know, there's more than she manages it, and there's a few employees, and then they talk about how while they were filming there were 4 of them, and I think John Oliver found out about them. And the Alaska ones were all owned by the same guy, and they were closing, so they lent them a bunch of Russell Crowe's stuff. Do you remember when Russell Crowe was auctioning off his shit years ago? It was like post his divorce, and he needed some money, so he was auctioning off like his jock strap from Gladiator or something. So
how much did it go for?
I don't know.
Shame.
You'd have to give that a quick Google. But yeah, John Oliver sent them a bunch of like memorabilia to show there, but eventually the Alaskan ones closed down. And they do, the one in Oregon gets that stuff later on, and they go through whether or not, they talk about whether or not, I guess it's her distributors. I wasn't quite sure who it was, but somebody has to renew Sandy's license so that they can keep the store open. It was really interesting to learn the history of Blockbuster, and then it was nice to have all the nostalgia of people being like, oh, I worked here and it was like this, and people being like, I liked that you can look at the cover. Like a friend of the podcast, Elle, and I earlier were talking about how it's not that easy to find new stuff on Netflix. Like you ever look at something and you think, oh, that looks interesting, and you keep scrolling and you forget about it. But like in Blockbusters, you'd like look at the cover and you'd pick it up and you'd walk around with it. And
I just like the smell of Blockbuster when I
loads of
went in
people
there.
said
It had
that.
a nice carpet smell to it, nice clean carpets.
Everyone went, did they all smell the same?
Yeah, there was a unique
the
smell
plastic,
about them.
the vinyl plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the smell.
They gave all the talking heads a copy of the documentary or something on VHS, and they were all like opening the cover, and it looked like a Blockbuster video, and like the noise that it made when you opened it and stuff. And it was very nice and very wholesome, and I enjoyed it very much.
What we're trying to say here, younger listeners, is that we're very old and we miss the old times.
Like people go from around the country, well, from around the world to visit.
Yeah, holidays and stuff.
Blockbusters.
Yeah.
And there was this one guy, and he was like, "Oh, I'm 33. We came in from Boston." He's like, "This is my 15-year-old brother, and he's never seen one." And they did talk to a few teenagers, and they're like, "This is fucking weird."
Yeah,
it's weird to us to have. They had no reference for it at all. They did not understand.
Yeah.
Why is it still Like, how is it still going? Do they explain why it's still there?
People use it.
Keep it alive. Of course they would.
People.
Yeah, but it can't be making that much, surely.
Apparently, they're making enough.
I mean, I know it's probably become a tourist attraction
That as well.
because it's the last one, but
Yeah.
People have Blu-ray players.
Yeah,
So-
it's, it's like regular customers. There was one guy, I can't remember his name, but he was a regular customer and he goes in there a lot. And she, bless her, she was making like bobble hats at one point. She was literally crocheting her own blue and yellow Blockbuster bobble hats to sell. And they just, I don't know, people love it. And people, because they basically asked, they asked someone, they were like, what would it take for her to keep it running? Like, what does it need? And I think it was like the Netflix guy or the old Blockbuster guy or something. And he was like, customers.
Yeah,
And it was things like the regular guy said that if there's a movie they haven't got in, she'll go and buy it for you. Like she will, if she can't get it from her distributor, she'll go to Walmart on new release day and she'll go and buy a bunch of them and put them in the shop.
Essentially, Blockbuster it happens with a lot of things throughout the times. With anything that changes with times, is Blockbuster has now become that mom and pop store where there's only one of them.
Yeah.
And it might expand, maybe, probably not now, but it's just the one of them, and it's down to people keeping that alive until eventually, probably at some point, it closes when we don't even need, I don't know, the fucking internet to watch films.
When it's all beamed into our brains.
No, I get why people want to go see it, and I also get why the younger generation will think we're a bunch of weirdos that we would have to go outside, drive to a fucking store to rent a film, and then bring it back home when you can just sit down and watch on Netflix and stuff. But yeah.
Yeah. So that was good.
I feel so old.
I would definitely watch this. This makes me feel warm and fuzzy.
Yeah.
It was the best job I've ever had working in a video
I think
shop.
everyone said that. And like she had loads of stuff on the wall that people would send them, like clippings about them. Because they mentioned Captain Marvel, because there was she breaks through a Blockbuster in Captain Marvel or something.
She does, yeah. Yeah, she does.
And it's not that one, it was a fake one. But then when that came out, like, and they showed her, she was interviewed and she was in the USA Today and she was really busy. Like it got like a renewed interest. And I guess especially if she runs the last one in the world. But it was very nice and very wholesome. And I guess...
Makes me sad.
Yeah, I don't know how interesting it would be if you have never been to a Blockbuster. But for the rest of us that are old, it was very nice and very wholesome. And I thoroughly enjoyed it and I would definitely recommend it.
Meet Sandy, the Blockbuster mom.
So when I started in 2004, Blockbuster Video had roughly 9,000 stores and over 60,000 employees. And now...
Do I miss renting from a physical store? No, absolutely not.
And then, Dan, you'll be very proud.
Mm-hmm.
I watched 2020's Console Wars.
What?
Which is a documentary, a look back to 1990 when Sega assembled a team of underdogs to take on Nintendo.
Penny, I am so hang on. Compliments first. I'm so proud of you right
Thanks.
now. My heart is I'm so proud.
I genuinely thought at least one of these would be a fucking horror themed documentary.
Well,
about fucking Nightmare on Elm Street 17 or whatever.
Blockbuster 1 gets real dark at the
basically, I was looking for In Search of Darkness Part 2, which is not yet on Shudder, and then I found a Freddy Krueger documentary, but I couldn't watch it anywhere. Then it became Last Blockbuster and Console Wars. So it did start with horror documentaries, but I couldn't find anywhere to watch them.
It's good, you're branching out.
Nice, you were trying to be on brand.
Yeah, well, she's trying to branch out. Oh, that's good, it's good.
So Console Wars was also really interesting, slightly less in my wheelhouse. I obviously preferred the Blockbuster one, but that was all about how it started with Sega trying to become a thing and how they had to deal with like Sega Japan. And so it was kind of, there was a lot of people that worked for Sega and a lot of people that worked from Nintendo, so you kind of got both sides of the story, and how they brought in Tom Kalinske, who sounds like a dude. He used to work at Mattel and do toys and be a marketer for Mattel toys, and Sega brought him in to try and turn the company around, which he kind of did for a while. And it goes through...
For a while?
Like Sega Genesis and, you know, from the NES and the SNES, and how they wanted to create a character to compete with Mario, and how the choices came down to like a weird chicken called Eggs.
Tails.
Yeah, a weird chicken called Eggs or a hedgehog called Sonic, and obviously they picked Sonic the Hedgehog. It had a lot of old 90s footage. They showed a lot of Sega's advertising campaign, which I'd never really seen before.
Oh man, it's fucking
because it was obviously a lot edgier than Nintendo,
Yeah.
because Nintendo was kind of for kids and
yeah. I was recently
so that it was a bit more MTV.
Yeah, I was recently looking up this kind of stuff with the pre-90s, or actually pre-95 advertising. It's amazing how non-PG it was at times. Like, there was some, like, magazine...
And they used to take the piss out of Nintendo all the time. Like, they would,
they
like,
take the
shit
piss
on
out
other.
each...
Yeah.
They would shit on each other constantly. Like, they would say, like, why would you want to play 16-bit when you could play 32-bit Sega Mega Drive and all this kind of stuff? But there was ones where, like, there was... Nintendo, I think, did this. It might have been... Probably not Nintendo, because they were a little bit more PG, but I think it either was Sega or PlayStation. I can't remember. But they would put, like, magazine adverts going... Like, there's like a woman in lingerie, like in game magazines, and it's like, would you rather play with her or with me? And it's like a picture of the console and stuff like that. And I'm like, it's amazing how different times have changed, really. But yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah, and it was kind of cool, like, because obviously Nintendo's Japanese and Sega had a Japanese, I don't want to say department, but, you know, they had to go through...
Headquarters.
Yeah, they had to go through that as well. And certain things they wanted to do, they couldn't do because Japan... Because they brought in Tom Kalinske because he was like, you don't understand American markets and what we can do. But eventually they were like, no, we're not doing this and we're not doing this. And I didn't realise that they almost joined with Sony, because Sony was like, we want to make a console, and then Sega went no, and now Sony's like, fuck you, we are the best.
We make PlayStation 1, and then that's outsold the Sega.
I think it was the Sega was 30 million units and the PlayStation 1 was 100 million units, and then Sega stopped not long after that. And they also showed a few people that worked at Sega and Nintendo had to go, not to court, they went to Congress to talk about violence in video games, especially with Mortal Kombat and the blood and things like that. And yeah, I really enjoyed that too. I still have a SNES and a Mega Drive, and they are about as computery as I get when I plug them in.
You sound so old again.
Yep, I had a PlayStation. I don't know what that is, but yeah, I think any other consoles I probably wouldn't have been that interested in. If it had been like PlayStation versus Xbox, I wouldn't have cared.
It was definitely, I think, though, the most interesting time, because the thing was, during that time, games, like, I would say probably before the 80s, they weren't popular. Like, there's the famous story of E.T. and the Atari getting dumped in.
Yeah, they mentioned that too. And how nobody wanted to invest because it was such a fuck up.
Yeah, and there was a thing called the video game crash that actually happened, where video games crashed because they were too expensive. They were too expensive to make, and no one wanted to buy them because they were expensive. And then when Sega and Nintendo came along, they managed to make it more profitable. But during that time, when they realized that they were profitable again, everyone wanted a slice in the market, and it became this fucking war, like you would see with something like Apple, Microsoft or something, just with tech companies you see today. But in that time, it was quite a new thing, with consoles being a new, like, popular thing at that point. So it's an interesting time, though. Definitely. And
there was one bit, I can't remember what it was, but I remember them being like, they did some adverts and they were like, yeah, now with Blaze technology or something weird like that. And it was a thing they just completely made up. Like, it wasn't a thing. They're like, yeah, but Sega's got Blazebird technology. Why wouldn't you want that? And everyone's like, yeah, I want a Sega because it's got that. And they're like, that's not a thing. We just made it up. I'm like, how are you allowed to do that?
Yeah.
But yeah, I would recommend both of those. Can't tell you where to watch them, but eventually they will be out there somewhere. The Blockbuster one was made by Netflix, I believe. So that should be on Netflix eventually. So
cool. A trip down nostalgic lane for Penny.
Yeah, I didn't mean to.
I think I'd watch both of those, you know.
I would too, definitely.
They're good.
95% or more of the market, we were the video game industry, but then it changed.
It was hard to build a major video game system.
None of us really knew if Sega was going to be a success.
The challenges we had were the very strong presence of Nintendo.
We needed something to compete with Mario.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Okay, well, guys, I'm a bit angry.
Oh,
here we go.
Let's have our Dr. Phil moment, I guess.
Those documentaries weren't that bad.
Nah, you know, sometimes I watch films like I get angry watching films that I can't get on board with them, even though like it's just a film kind of saying should be in my head. Maybe it's like, Dan, don't take it too seriously. And I try. But sometimes some movies, as seen previously in previous episodes, just break me and make me very, very fucking angry. And it takes a lot to make me angry, like very angry.
Animals United.
Animals
in bathtub is apparently his limit.
Yeah, I don't get it.
It
wasn't that bad. It was a good film.
There's only been two, really. Like Animals United and I think Emoji Movie were the two that like really broke me in terms of like...
Yeah, but Emoji Movie was
alright.
It was boring, but it wasn't dreadful.
No.
We've definitely watched worse films
Didn't
than
50 Shades make you angry, or was that just me?
No, he liked it.
No, I found it more like funny and stupid. Like I just found it stupid, 50 Shades.
He found it erotic.
Yes, I found it very erotic. But the last week I was like, I haven't seen this film series, and I know a lot of people have, and it's made a lot of money. They've made two of them in their series. No, not Saw, two of them. They're making a third one soon because based off the big success, I'm talking like millions and millions success they had with the first two. But there's a lot of people that were like, I'm not so sure about this. This is a bit silly. This film is very silly. It's for people who can
trying to guess what it is.
Suspend their disbelief just for a moment, mainly based off the concept of the film. So this week, I watched Now You See Me series of films, which is the films...
Is that the magicians?
About the magicians.
Do you want to know something fun?
Yes.
I very nearly put this in the hat because I knew it would upset you. Also,
It fucking did.
low-key have a connection to a magician who... I think he had it as his own podcast, but he broke down all the tricks in them and said they're all bullshit.
Oh, really?
I mean,
Interesting.
It's not, I watched the first one and I don't know why I put myself through the second one. Like I barely paid attention to the second one because I was like, I'm out.
The second one's
already.
fucking dreadful.
So if you don't know about these, Now You See Me. First one came out in 2013. It has Jesse Eisenberg, Mark Ruffalo, Woody Harrelson, Zayla Fisher,
Franco,
Michael Caine,
Isla Fisher,
Dave Frank, as whatever her name is, Michael Caine, Morgan Freeman. It's an all-star fucking cast, 75 million budget, made 350 million. It was a big success, and they made a second one, made even more money. But essentially...
Is this... Sorry, I've never seen these.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking at IMDb, and they look a bit like... Ocean's 11 with magicians?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
So
I've never seen Ocean's 11 either, so that's useful.
I to prep myself, I saw a few magician movies.
Wait, what?
You saw a few magician movies. What were the magician movies you saw?
So I didn't realise how many fucking magicians.
No, I want to know. I have friends that are magicians.
Are you counting like all of the Harry Potter films?
No. I will get to that in a minute because there's a...
The Prestige. That's a magician movie.
So good ones. Prestige, fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
That's the only one I could really find that was a good one, to be honest. I saw crap ones like the incredible Burt Wonderstone, which is that one with Steve Carell, Jim Carrey, and they're all like, it's a recent one. It was fucking awful.
I love that you looked up magician movies. What is happening?
So weird.
Yeah, well, I go in deep when I do my feature.
What's the one that, I mean, you've got more time than anyone else, so you've got plenty of time to see this. What's the one that is like The Prestige and came out at the same time with...
The Illusionist?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I sort of like it. The ending is a bit mixed for people. I remember a lot of people going, like it was a bit one of those endings where people were like, I don't know if I like this film now or not, but it's a bit mixed for a lot of people. I remember liking it, but I know a lot of people think it's a bit mixed, but either way. There's obviously the David Mitchell and Robert Webb Magicians film, if you remember that one.
Oh, obviously, yeah. How could we forget that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that Oscar-worthy one.
And there's obviously Disney's Magic Camp, which I definitely didn't watch.
Is that like Camp Rock, but with magicians?
Yep.
I mean...
it stars Adam Levine.
That's the one I'm taking away from this.
Adam Levine's in it, and...
From Maroon 5?
Yep. No, sorry, Adam Devine. Whatever the fuck his name. I keep getting people's names wrong.
The guy that Andy doesn't like from Finding Girls.
The guy that Andy doesn't like. Yeah, Magic Camp.
Oh, the square face.
The square face. Everyone has a square face. But there's...
He looks like a fucking playing card.
There you go.
That's why he's so good. He's a joker.
There's a lot of them. So I've seen a couple of them just on my merry way through life, but I never saw Now You See Me, which is probably a lot more people have seen. I fucking can't stand this film, both of them. I couldn't get through it, and I'll explain why. There will be some minor spoilers. Actually, some more spoilers for the first one than the second one. Let's put it that way. I won't spoil everything, but I need to say the reason why it made me so mad, and you guys need to tell me if I'm over-exaggerating or not.
I've seen this film more than 3 times.
Really?
Yeah.
On purpose?
I've got a weird soft spot for it, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, Andy, this is the type of film that makes me so angry. So, essentially, Now You See Me is a bunch of magicians. You got, as I said, Jesse Eisenberg, Woody Harrelson, Dave Franco, all them. They're a magician group, and they're known as the Four Horsemen, even though there is a woman in there. It's a bit strange to call them that, but either way.
I mean, it's a term, isn't it?
Yeah, the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse.
It's a term.
Yeah, I know, but either way. There's the Four Horsewomen, so, you know. Either way.
This is not a point you can battle on, because this is a small one.
I'm so angry at this point. No. So they are famous in Vegas, and they perform shows, and they're
I've
world
never
famous.
seen them in Vegas. That's bullshit.
Yeah, but they're crafty magicians who like to do magic. Like the start of Now You See Me, you kind of see them on the street doing street magic, but everyone kind of knows them. And weirdly, Jesse Eisenberg plays the attractive magician.
Him or his face.
He's got longer hair.
Weird, isn't it?
He tries to be sexy a little bit.
I also kind of get him confused with Michael Cera, who I also don't like. Not confused with, but to me they're very similar, and I don't like either of them. Sorry, Andy.
No, Michael Cera's a nice boy. Jesse Eisenberg's a bit of a pretentious prick. By all accounts.
Jesse Eisenberg, he always plays the same character.
Yeah,
I
himself,
find.
a pretentious prick.
Himself, all the time. So Jesse is the sexy magician who's always kind of doing flirty magic. Woody Harrelson is a guy who can read minds.
Is he the David Blaine?
He's kind of the David Blaine. He kind of is able to pick up reads on people's faces and know what they're thinking and all that kind of stuff.
No, he's the Darren Brown.
Yeah. Sure, whatever.
He's the Darren Brown. Yeah.
He's a prick. So, and then Dave Franco is sort of like a prop kind of guy. He uses he likes bend spoons. He does card tricks. Carrot Top.
Not quite Carrot Top level. He's more close up.
Uri Geller. I don't know why I need to equate these all to real magicians.
No, you don't. So shut the fuck up. Let's move on.
And then what's her name again? In case
Isla Fisher is an escape artist.
She's an escape artist. She likes to escape out of tanks and shit, and chopping yourself through wood or whatever it's called. Chopping yourself in half.
Yourself through wood.
Sawing yourself in half. I don't know. I haven't been to a magic show.
You don't saw yourself in half.
Oh, whatever. She does all those kind of stuff.
I mean, that's one hell of a
trick. So they combine to make the superhero Justice League of magicians. And they start performing in Vegas, and in the opening of Now You See Me, they're like, we're going to perform our greatest trick on our final night. We're going to rob a bank, right? So they're going to rob a bank from the show in Vegas that they're currently performing in. Now, the way they do this is they don't explain how they did the trick until a little bit later on in the film. So they do the trick, and I won't necessarily spoil it, but they essentially pick someone out from the crowd, and this guy's a Frenchman, and they say, what's your bank? And they're like, no, don't worry, we'll figure out what your bank account is and stuff. You're obviously French, so we have to rob a French bank or something. But this is the part. This is the part where it's just like, okay, they're doing all these tricks, and fine, some of them are a bit out there and some of them are a bit not explained, where they stick this guy in the middle of a stage and they put a teleportation thing from the future mask on top of his head made out of light bulbs, right? It's the sort of thing you see in Star Trek. Let's put it that way. It's obviously an illusion to make it look like it's not. It's very sci-fi. And then he steps into a tank. And by the way they get the tank is they have magic sheets go around the tank and then it appears. So how...
That's a thing magicians do, though.
No.
I feel like your issue with this film is you do not know magic well enough.
No. The problem with this film is it's a mixture of magic and then it's a mixture of wizardry. That's the problem with this film.
The magic sheets isn't wizardry.
What do you mean it's a mixture of wizardry?
There's flying sheets in the air that come from the sky and they appear...
Yeah. It's like David Copperfield shit.
Yeah, but the But the other stuff they show are like fucking coin tricks and card
just different
tricks.
types of magic,
It's a bit of a step up. No, it's not.
It is. I've seen David Copperfield float a car in person.
All right.
Pen knows loads of magicians.
I do.
Like, legit, this is her specialty.
Okay, when the sheets look like they're CGI sheets,
Well, that's just because it's a movie.
that's when I'm from.
Hang on, so what is your problem? That there's CGI sheets and it's a film, or that it's real life and they're not real sheets?
They are flying in the air and they make a teleporter appear.
Yeah. You can do that with...
It's a film.
Yeah.
This was a little thing. I'm moving on. They put the guy in the teleporter and the teleporter closes in on itself and he disappears and we see on a screen that he's now in a bank. Supposedly this bank, this French bank that he's in, with millions of euros in front of him. So he's been teleported from the stage.
Well, that's probably bullshit. But it also could be trapdoor.
You've absolutely nailed it, Pen.
Well
It's
done.
a trapdoor.
It is a trapdoor.
Dan thought it was actual teleportation.
No. I don't have a problem with this bit. This bit is fine. This bit is absolutely fine because they explain what they do.
Okay.
Like, that's the part of even Prestige, for example.
So Dan doesn't like magic that's not explained to him afterwards.
No, it's you. Oh my God, let me get on my point. Right, so he thinks he's obviously in a French bank, but obviously there's a trapdoor underneath, and there's a replica of the bank underneath.
Mm-hmm.
So he thinks he's in the bank. They turn the vacuums on, so it sucks up all the money, and then the money appears on stage in Las Vegas, therefore thinking they teleported money all the way from France to Las Vegas, and all the audience grab some euros to think it's legitimate.
It's like a good show.
So, here's the problem. In the crowd is Michael Caine. Michael Caine is in the crowd. And
It's my favourite thing you've ever done.
he's sort of like their, I don't really know what he's sort of like their manager, but like their best bud BBF in the crowd. And he's like, oh, they're great, aren't they? And stuff. But also in the crowd is Morgan Freeman. Now, Morgan Freeman is secretly filming the trick with his camera phone. And someone notices he has his camera out and they're like, sir, we have to take that away. And he's like, oh, no problem. Then he pulls out another fucking camera, secretly hides that. He's a magic debunker, right?
Yeah.
So his job is to debunk magic tricks.
He's a fun sponge.
Is that
He's
a fun sponge.
Why?
He's like what was that show Behind the Mask? The magician in the mask, and he'd tell you how they did everything. He just wants to spoil it for everyone else.
Suck the fun out of things, do you mean?
Dan, are you about to ask if that's a real job?
Yeah.
It is a real job.
I knew
James Randi used to do it. He used to catch them out, particularly with like psychics and mediums. He used to be like, no, that's bullshit.
I remember him doing that, but he didn't do magic tricks because magic tricks is a bit different.
No, he did. He was an ex-magician and he used to tell people how they were done.
I remember him catching out people who thought they could like bend books in half without touching them, and well, reading people's minds. Maybe I guess he did more of that than actual like fucking card
Do you
tricks.
like?
Right.
Are you one of those people that wants to know how it's done, or are you not? Like, I think there's like sometimes people don't want to know.
No. Again,
But some people do, so it would be a job.
A lot of people feel the same with me on this film, and I'll get to the reasons why. Just bear with me a second, okay? So that trick happens. Morgan Freeman's like, I'm trying to figure out how they did the trick, and eventually, because of course the FBI contact them. Mark Ruffalo is part of the FBI. Hulk Hogan. The Hulk himself is part of the FBI, and he's like, well, these guys just robbed a bank, so we need to figure out how they did it. It's obviously a crime. So they get Morgan Freeman on board and like, well, how did they do it since you're sat there in the crowd filming it? And he explains...
So they actually robbed a bank but made it look like a trick.
Correct.
He explains that he figured it out. There's a trapdoor. But then the actual bank in France was robbed. So what happened was these magicians went to France and hid underneath like the van transporting the money and knocked out the guards and got the real money and replaced it with fake money and made it burn in the real bank before the people got in there, so it looked like it was gone. Mm-hmm. They did all that. They're magicians. They are magicians. They knocked out guards for a bank. They are magicians, right? This is the problem with this film. They're trying to make magicians sexy. When was fucking Paul Daniels doing this? I never saw Paul Daniels
all
fucking
the magicians I know
Yes.
are very sexy, thank you.
Siegfried and Roy, good looking chap.
Royd? Well, like steroid.
Yeah, sorry. Siegfried and Roy. I got distracted. Attractive dudes. David Copperfield.
Oh, David
That
Copperfield
fucking
is a
mullet.
babe.
He was a good-looking dude, wasn't he?
Yeah.
David Blaine before he went mental.
Dynamo.
Good-looking dude. So I don't know what your point is here, Dan.
Darren Brown when he's got hair.
Oh, Darren Brown.
No one robbed a
Oh.
bank and committed a crime, is what I'm saying.
Well, no, we were talking about how attractive
But
they
Darren
were.
Brown has won the lottery before.
Yeah, and he's not allowed in Vegas
predicted lottery
anymore.
numbers, and he's not allowed in Vegas.
No, he's not allowed in Vegas
Oh, no, he
anymore
didn't.
because he
That
counts
was all
cards.
camera tricks. That was all camera
That's
tricks.
all camera tricks. What are you talking
Either
about?
way, okay. Morgan Freeman tells the FBI. Now, the FBI are like, we need to bring these people in. So Mark does his best job of bringing them in. But because, especially Woody Harrelson, who is a mind man.
A mind man.
I don't know. Andy, there's a scene in this film, right, when they're robbing the fucking bank truck, where he gets off a police bike that he's in disguise, he looks at the driver, and he falls asleep. What? No,
I don't think that's
you can't do hypnosis by just looking at fucking people now. Seriously.
If you leave him with the trigger beforehand, you can, in theory.
But they didn't.
Yeah, if you
They
hypnotize...
didn't. They just.
But you don't know
You
that.
don't know that.
They explained what he did, and he didn't. He just looked at the guy, and he went unconscious. So your mind telling me that now he can manipulate
Darren Brown
people's
could do
minds
that.
from afar
Darren
Brown could do that easy.
without touching them, just
Yeah,
by
he
looking
does.
at them for 2 seconds.
Yes.
Yeah.
He could do that whilst he's painting a fucking picture
Yeah,
upside down.
This is fucking unbelievable.
Whilst eating a light bulb.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mark Ruffalo can't break these people because they're like, well, we didn't do anything. It's a trick. We would reveal our trick if we told you anything. By the way, he's the FBI, and they're like, oh,
Yeah, they should
we
probably
can't
have
tell
to
you
tell him.
anything. Yeah, you might get arrested, guys, but they don't, because of course they don't, because they can't prove that they
They're
did
trying
it.
to protect their investment. That's
Yeah,
why.
they
That's their
can't-
job. If they give up their skills.
Like Penn and Teller's bullet trick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see Penn and Teller fucking. I love to see Penn and Teller rob a bank. That'd be hilarious.
Yeah, but they also wouldn't tell the FBI how the trick was done.
Yeah.
Because Teller doesn't talk.
Exactly, that's true.
He does, not on stage.
But these guys are just more like cocky fucking magicians. That's probably why I hate them so much. They're just cocky little bastards. I hate them so much. Anyway, so they can't get arrested. So the FBI are like, we'll let them go. And then they try to follow them to different shows, and they're just like, well, we'll catch them in the act again. And they do catch them in the act again, like in another stage show where they give money to people by shining a light on people's wallets or something through a check that gives them money in their bank account. Which, okay, fair enough. That's a trick. I'll accept it for being a trick.
Dan just doesn't understand magic, does he?
No, it's fine.
No.
Again, it's not explained how that happened. That's the problem.
Magicians don't do that.
No, the tricks that are so stupid and ridiculous are not really explained. The ones that you can probably kind of guess, they are explained. That's fine. I like the if you're doing a trick and stuff, and you explain it like they do in The Prestige. They do that all the time in Prestige. They show you the trick, and then
They're different films.
they are different films, but they don't treat you like a fucking idiot by having them do something that's clearly impossible to do. Right? If it's so
Sorry.
That's the
impossible.
suspend your disbelief part. though.
No, hang on a second. Are you saying that there's things in The Prestige, everything that happens in The Prestige is possible and realistic? Because that ending...
Without spoiling the ending, it is explained what happens at the end. It is silly.
But it doesn't mean that you could actually do it.
That's true, but it is explained what's going on, like how it's.
Yeah, but magicians never explain their tricks, so...
Yeah, but that's the cop out with this film. Is
That's
that they can
not.
get
That's
away
what
with
magicians
anything.
do. Even my friends
No,
won't tell
they
me how to do it.
I get it, but it's it's a film about magicians. And if you're going to make a film about magicians, the main thing people are going to watch the film are going to go like, well, how do they do that? And if they don't explain it, Penn,
Surely
if they
that's
don't,
just the best reason for it, like in a film, be like, we can do all this weird shit and we don't have to explain it because they're magicians.
Yeah, it's easy.
So this comes down the line of suspend your disbelief for 5 minutes, right? So with a lot of these things, a lot of people like this film because they have that same argument, like, oh, it's what magicians do. But if this was in the same context with any other film with suspending your disbelief, I would call bullshit, and so would you guys on a lot of things they do.
Yeah,
in
but
this
it's
film.
not a different type of film.
I don't know what I have to do.
I think
know
it's easier to suspend your disbelief because it's magicians.
there's a lot of people who feel the same way. I know there's a lot of people like this film, but there's a lot of people who can't stand this film, me fucking included. I never thought I would hate a film so much because it just is so cheekily able to get away with so much by not explaining things in a story narrative fucking thing I'm watching, by not explaining what the fuck they did because it's magic. That's just the excuse. That's just
they
it.
explain all of the big set pieces that you need them to be explained. The ones that you want explaining are the ridiculous ones, like how did he get hold of his watch? And how was he throwing that card with such precision?
At some point, Mark Ruffalo is chasing down the gang, right? This happens after the second stage show. He's chasing him down in the street. We get a magic street fight. Right? And the magic street fight...
Are they flicking cards at each other?
Yes! He's throwing...
Yes, that sounds amazing!
James Franco's throwing fireballs at Mark Ruffalo. What the...
I mean, that's not a thing. Unless it's flash
he's
paper.
got one of the spark things up his wrist that
flash paper.
Yeah, and he's flinging that.
Right, fair enough.
Right, that's fine.
And then, bearing in mind, he has chased them down the street, and they've ended up in some apartment and stuff. He then goes to grab him, okay? Not James Franco, I said Dave Franco. Dave Franco. Goes to grab Dave Franco. He goes behind a curtain and disappears.
Well, if they knew the apartment, maybe they knew...
They didn't. They didn't.
That one I'm with you, maybe.
They did know the apartment because they were set up there with all their fucking stage shows.
Oh, then they set that up earlier.
That's where they were planning it.
They did a Vernon, like in Behind the Mask.
It's never... if they said something like, oh yeah, there was a trapdoor underneath, or if they explained.
Do they have time?
Penny, but this is the point.
I haven't seen it.
It's like with any other film. If something ridiculous happened in a film, right? You would want to know, well, how would they do? How is that done?
Doesn't always get explained though. I can't think of an example off the top of my head. But ridiculous stuff in a film doesn't always get explained, and I feel like their cop out, like you said, is going, oh, they're magicians, so it's fine.
Yeah, it is a cop-out. That's the point. It's a complete cop-out.
Whilst this is all going on, Penn, there's also...
It's a sham.
These 4 horsemen are being sort of managed by something called the Eye.
It's wanky.
Which is supposed to make them the greatest, like, magicians of all time. And I think the whole point is that you lead up to this expecting them to get better. So now the line between being a magician and being magic...
Being a wizard, Harry.
...is blurred.
Oh, okay.
They're fucking
I think
wizards.
that's what they're doing.
Kind of silly.
They're wizards.
Right.
They're wizards. Right. So now, and I won't spoil the ending to Now You See Me, but there is an ending. I might have to because it annoys me so.
Do it.
Okay, this is the spoiler. This is the ending to Now You See Me. Turn off or skip a few minutes if you don't want to hear it. I'm probably not gonna. I'll just do one thing from Now You See Me too, but skip ahead. So it turns out the big twist at the end. Right. This is the big twist. All manner of shit happens. They try to get away from the FBI, all this kind of stuff. Mark Ruffalo's chasing them, all this kind of stuff. And then they say,
abracadabra.
They reveal that Mark Ruffalo was in on it the whole time.
Okay.
The FBI guy.
Corrupt FBI. Okay.
So, the interrogation, the chasing them, like while he was chasing them, he was in on it as well, right? So he was...
If no one else was looking, he didn't need to chase
Dave
him.
Franco throwing fireballs at him, he was in on it. You mean to tell me the whole fucking time, and he's worked his way up to be in that position in the FBI.
To rob banks with magicians.
To tell me he's going to be a magician now, or with these magician guys?
Dan's upset about Mark Ruffalo's life choices in this film.
Do you want to explain why he's doing what he's doing?
Stupid. It's so stupid. It's so ridiculous.
It doesn't sound that bad.
Do you want to explain why he's doing what he's doing?
For money, because they rob banks.
I switched off. I don't know. I'm not going to say anymore because I said people skip. But like that, it's so stupid.
He's visibly distraught, guys.
Like, they paint these guys. They're just magicians. But they paint them as the biggest fucking superhero class since fucking Avengers.
I mean, in Vegas, they might be. Magicians make the most money in Vegas.
They throw cards and catch coins and pull rabbits out of a fucking hat. They're trying to, like, this is not
At no point in this film does anyone pull a rabbit out of a hat.
I'm out.
Disappointed.
Disappointed.
The second one is worse, but yeah, I don't even want to go into
the second one is worse. 100%.
Okay, one point I want to bring up. From the beginning of this film, I've been like, yeah, they're magicians, but they treat them as wizards, and you guys are like, whatever. No, they don't. What a bigger shock to the system or kick in the balls than have Daniel Radcliffe turn up
Oh, that's just confusing.
in Now You See Me Too.
I really
They
like...
put an actual
Yes.
wizard.
I really like Daniel Radcliffe,
Yes.
like quite a lot. I think I've put 4 of his films in the hat.
I like
hell.
him too. He's quite good.
He reminds me of Ed, so now he's on a down point because he recommended a shit film.
So does Harry Potter know what films he's seen?
But I agree, this film is shit. The second one makes far less sense.
There's way more. Everyone's probably already seen the card scene, obviously, and I know, just preparing myself for this thing, there was actual magicians who saw that and were like, "That's impossible. You can't do that." Like, there's a lot of things they do. I like the bit. There's a bit in it where they try to get through a metal detector, and they cleverly. This is the bits I like. They cleverly show you how they get through a metal detector without detecting this hidden thing they're trying to get through. I like that bit. But then there's bits where they go like, I disappear into water.
But that's the least...
And it's not explained.
But the bit with the fucking metal detector is the least plausible because they're throwing a card around 17 different times.
But at least it's shown and explained. There's half of the stuff in that film where they're not consistent. It's just half of it is bullshit and they couldn't come up with an explanation. And then half of it is, oh, that's a cool little thing because they show you what's done. But it's not consistent.
It's not a documentary. It's not trying to teach people how to do magic.
Not a
do you know what I mean?
documentary.
It's trying to be entertaining. So that's why they're doing specific set pieces like that.
My neighbours are going to wake up.
Like, I agree with you. And I'll be honest, that card bit really pisses me off because I'm like, why is he showing that card to some person and then not to another? He's trying to be sneaky and hide around his fingers. Put it in your fucking pocket, you prick. But that's not the issue with this film that I've got. It's the fact I've got a lot of issues with this film, but I can't.
What is your issue then? If that's my issue, what's your issue then?
I think it's that they tout Daniel Radcliffe to be like the world's best magician, and then all he does is like hack computers.
Because he's a real wizard, Harry.
No, he just hacks computers.
Yeah, but
that's not a magician or a wizard.
Jesse Eisenberg turned into fucking Storm from X-Men. He can control the weather.
What?
Yeah.
No.
He can control rain.
Yeah, that's the worst part.
Are they still in Vegas? Because there is a bit in Vegas where it rains indoors and they have a storm.
No.
Oh.
They're in London.
Oh, then
in
fuck
London,
them. Yeah. That makes no sense then.
Yeah. Yeah, these bits are all in the trailer. So
the problem, like, you can like parts of this film, and I can understand that parts of this film will quite be funny for people, or kind of like it's over the top, it's silly, but it's fun. Like, I get that, but the fact that it's like half of it is fun, and half of it is just not. I
still
to me.
think we need to show Dan more magic.
I agree.
I've seen magic. I had a Paul Daniels first magic box when I was 9 years old.
Old magic, like decent magic now. Like Penn and Teller's bullet trick is amazing.
Yeah, Penn and Teller's bullet trick from the 90s is really recent.
Which they're still doing in Vegas to this day. That's great.
That's fine. And I don't expect, like, I'm not saying like, oh, because I see this film, every magic trick should be shown. Like I need to know how it's done. I'm not saying that. I think that's what you think I'm saying, but it's not. It's either you be consistent with showing what they're doing or not. Because the consistent stuff that they're actually showing to the audience is legitimately, some of it, plausible. But the stuff that is not shown to the audience of how it's done is bullshit. So it's obvious that it's bullshit because they don't show it. That was my point. Why can't you see?
So I haven't seen any of the Ocean's films. Do they explain how they do all of that all the time and how they rub all the stuff?
Yeah.
So is that why he has a problem with it, if we're equating it to that kind of thing?
No.
Well, I don't know if he's got a problem with the Ocean's films.
I don't care for the Ocean's films now.
I get it, because you're like, okay, so the ones that are plausible, they're showing you how they do it, but the ones that you couldn't do, they're not showing you because you can't do it. So that's what's annoying.
I find it lazy. Yeah. Yeah. Either you're going to make a film where it's like, look, we can...
All the magic could be real. Like, you could do all of these tricks. Or
it's a film about, like, real magic. Or it's
wizardry.
A film about wizards.
I'm with him now.
There. But it's half and half. That's the problem. So it's not consistent with wizardry or magic. So I couldn't stand it at some point. So
no, hang on a second. It's not a case of wizardry or magic. It's a case of them being the top in their field and being able to do things that no one else believes is possible.
Top in your field. It's a guy doing a CGI thing. I know it's not. It's not.
It's a guy doing a CGI thing. It's a fucking film, but that stuff can happen and does happen. As opposed to flicking a card around a room for 25 minutes.
You know when you watch Neil Breen films.
I feel like I want to ask some magicians I know what they felt about this film now.
I'll get them with this one. You know when you watch when I watch Neil Breen films and you go, well, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Why does that annoy you? Because it's bullshit? Because that would never happen?
No, because it's fucking terrible. It's poorly acted, poorly scripted. This camera shots are shit. It's ridiculous. At least this looks nice.
It looks nice.
It's relatively well acted.
It's not acted well.
It's relatively.
It's not
written. It's written
not,
better than.
It's not
better than the Neil Breen shit.
You're telling me fucking Jesse Eisenberg is good in this film? In either of them, he is so. He has the most annoying kind of tone and voice.
He does.
I know he's trying to be a magician, and I just want to punch him.
He's trying to be the smarmy prick, and that's what he's doing.
That's fine, but it just annoys me, this film. That's all. I don't think it's a bad film. I definitely don't say like, oh, it's 1 out of 10, it's the worst film ever. I don't think it's a bad film. I watched it and I just felt angry. Like I just felt anger while watching a fucking movie about magicians, and I never thought I would say that, and that's why I'm angry about it.
It's really weird your takes on film sometimes, because I don't understand how this can be any worse than Birdemic or Neil Breen stuff.
Because they are trying to be serious, but they come off as funny. That's the only point. That's the only point.
And you're talking about Now You See Me as trying to be serious, but comes off funny.
It's not funny. It's not funny at all. It's trying to
but
be
neither
serious.
Is any of the Neil Breen stuff, and you shit yourself laughing at it.
Now You See Me is trying to be serious, but it also takes the audience for a pleb by showing you half magic that is actually shown, and the other half, which is wizardry and not actually shown to you. So it treats the audience members like idiots.
But it's supposed to blur the line between the two, and that's what it does.
Yeah, but it blurs it.
I've just tweeted 5 magicians that I know to ask.
I can't believe you're saying that it's trying to be.
He's going to make me go.
It's trying to be serious, but it comes off as funny.
But
then you're still on side with Neil Breen, who's trying to be serious.
Completely
and it's
different
fucking
film.
Horrendous.
Completely different film. The lines, and you mentioned there, it's trying to blur the lines between real magic and stuff you don't know about. I get that, but the lines between both of them are simple card trick, magic curtain. So it's so distant.
Get off of the magic curtain.
No.
Because that's not the bit that's the problem.
And the flying sheets.
The flying sheets happen.
Disappear in water, coin trick, fucking magic rain, card trick. You know, it's such a difference because, and the main reason they want to show this is in the trailers, they want to put those kind of, whoa, what happened there kind of trick. Maybe we'll find out when we see the film. And they fucking did, because I saw those trailers, and immediately after I saw that, I was like, they don't reveal that. They don't reveal that. They don't reveal that. But the ones they do reveal are boring. So,
I agree with you in that respect. They are deliberately putting in big set piece things to put in a trailer and sell movie tickets. And that makes sense.
I'm more mad.
But
okay.
Some of the stuff that you're complaining about, like the fucking Woody Harrelson hypnotising someone.
That's bullshit.
Darren Brown
I can't
could
believe
do
that's a thing you've got an issue with. Like, compared to Dave Franco going through a wall and disappearing, fine, I'm with you. I agree that is ridiculous. And I think it's supposed to be taken with a pinch of salt. But you're more annoyed at fucking someone being hypnotised than disappearing into thin air is the bit that's weird for me.
I'll leave you with this.
Because you can hypnotise people like however you want. It's not an issue.
I'll leave you with this. There is one trick that I did laugh out loud for, and they did show, because I thought it was fucking stupid, and I thought there's no way in hell anyone could get away with this. And Now You See Me Too, they crash a car, and so the police, from what I remember, think that the magicians are in the car, but it crashes, right? And it spins around, and you think the magicians are dead. They have a replacement car that's like on the back of a van on this highway that kind of they essentially get into, and this car that's flipping around, going tumbling, is down the road somewhere, and the police obviously go after it. When they check the car, there was one guy in there, a dead man, one guy, right? They went to the hospital and they stole a dead body from the morgue. I
mean,
the body
that's
in the
not
car.
wizardry.
That's not magic.
That's just a thing that.
That's the point. This is going far beyond. It's going far beyond it's just a magic trick. It's fucking. I don't know what it is.
Well, like we said, they're like Magician Ocean's 11, so there's got to be an element of criminality to it, I assume.
Am I supposed to root
like
for
the
them?
magic bit is that they switched the cars over and didn't get caught. Not that they stole a body from the morgue.
A poor man's body that could have a wife, girlfriend, kids, right? And they chucked him in a car and made it go spin.
It's already dead. It doesn't matter.
That's the kind of attitude that film has. This film has. Oh, it's already dead. Screw it. Hey, let's be magicians. Like, it's so bollocks. I fucking hate this film so much. Of course, the
Cockney magician, obviously.
Let's go steal money and stuff. I watch it. People, if you want to watch a film that's going to make you angry, watch both of these films. I guarantee you're going to be furious throughout it, unless you're not like me and don't have very important things in your life to do. Either way.
Well,
I've got to say, I will watch the first one with no issues. I don't mind it.
Fair enough. Okay.
The second one
is,
pretty piss poor.
The second one's too much for me.
Well, I think the twist at the end of the first one is quite pleasant.
Quite pleasant.
Quite nice, but...
Well, it's good news they're making a third one.
Are they really?
Yes, and we're going to probably watch it together, aren't we?
Yeah.
Christ.
I've tweeted 7 different magicians the same question.
You've live tweeted 7 magicians?
Yeah, while you were talking about it, I've tweeted 7 magicians, 5 of whom I know personally, 2 of whom I'm not really sure are that really on Twitter. So I'm hoping at least 1 or 2 of them will answer some of my questions about.
Tune in next week
hopefully.
To find out their responses.
I'll ask the magician guy I know as well.
What are we asking these magicians? Is Dan being a pleb?
I've just put, how do you feel about Now You See Me? Are all the tricks plausible? If not, does it annoy you that it's half real tricks and half made up movie magic? Asking for a podcast. Thanks.
Fine. Well, next week we'll hear what happens there.
Imagine if Penn and Teller got back to me. That'd be amazing. And
Did you tweet Penn and Teller?
Yeah. They were the 2 I don't know.
I mean, set your sets high. I like it. That's ambitious.
Yeah. Penn.
Maybe they have really strong opinions about that movie. Maybe I'll have triggered them.
Maybe.
I got as angry there as I did with Emoji Movie. I never thought I would, but either way.
Come in close. Closer. Because the more you think you see, the easier it'll be to fool you. Because what is seeing? You're looking, but what you're really doing is filtering, interpreting, searching for meaning. My job? To take that most precious of gifts you give me, your attention.
Penn, what's the socials, please?
You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Unusual Suspects Pod and on Twitter at Unusual Podspect. I'm at Penny_photopit and Dan's at Dan Hates Magicians.
.com.co.uk.
He's at Dan Talks a Lot.
At Joyce is 21.
Should probably change it to Dan Rants a Lot now, really, to be honest. Get a reputation for that.
Cries a lot.
Film Out of the Hat is Batman from 1966. The best Batman film of all time.
Yeah.
Can't wait to talk about that. We'll be back.
Williker's Batman.
Jiminy Jilliker.
I forgot my shark repellent spray.
Spoilers. We'll be back next week. We love you all. See you soon. Fucking magicians. I hate them all. Bye.
Oof. I love magicians.
Can you say abracadabra as like a sign out? Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Abracadabra. Okay. I can make rain, control rain with my mind. Abracadabra.
I can't work out if he's mad at magicians or movies about magicians because I feel like
I've already explained. Good night, everyone.
Jesus. Abracadabra, everyone. Have a magical time.
Fuck's sake. That's even worse than my sign.